So the Xiaomi 15 Ultra is one of the best smartphones you can get on the market in terms of its camera. But today, let's test it out and see how good these cameras actually are. In a very short, quick review of the smartphone, what does the Xiaomi 15 Ultra have? As a flagship 2025 smartphone, it runs on the Snapdragon 8 Elite. So you can play all the modern games at the highest quality settings. Also, it has 12 and 16 GB of RAM options. This is a 16 GB of RAM version. It has a beautiful AMOLED display, which can run up to 120 Hz, meaning that the display can go up to 120 frames per second. And because of that, it works super smooth. And paired that with its Snapdragon 8 Elite, everything is just silky smooth while operating the phone. And this display is super sharp. And in terms of protection of the screen, it is the Xiaomi Shield Glass 2. And last but not least, it has an in-display fingerprint reader, which is actually an ultrasonic fingerprint reader, so it's super quick and reliable. And it's also IP68 rated. And one thing you're gonna see right away from the looks of it, it definitely feels like a camera. You know, this color especially just looks like a camera with the ultra lighting on the side, Leica on the lens, and overall the design from the color and just the finish of it looks like a camera. This is really a camera-centric smartphone. Essentially, you could say it's a camera with a smartphone attached to it. And as you can see, this is a pretty big camera bump, but there is a reason to it, which we're gonna get into in a second. I just wanted to mention how it looks and how it feels, because this is kind of like a synthetic leather and this more like a polished matte finish. It runs on the Android 15 and HyperOS 2. In terms of battery, it has a 5410 mAh battery in the global market. In the Chinese version, like the one we have here, which means the battery is once again bigger with its 6000 mAh battery. And this is actually a unit from Trading Shenzhen. If you're interested in a Chinese version of this smartphone, or you want to save a little bit of money, or you just want to import to your country, check out the link down below for Trading Shenzhen. They were nice enough to lend out this phone for testing. In terms of charging, it is once again flagship level. It's a 90-watt charging and 80-watt wireless charging with 10-watt reverse charging. And now we're going to the most important part about the smartphone for me, which is the cameras. So on the back we have once again a quad camera setup, and it's in collaboration with Leica. The main sensor is once again a 1-inch sensor, just like its predecessor. But this time we do not have a variable aperture, meaning that you cannot close up the eye to let in less light. And also because of that, you cannot do the effect of a star that the closed aperture would do. This is something I wish was still here. It was a really nice feature on the Xiaomi 14 Ultra. But the main 1-inch sensor is a 50 megapixel sensor. It's a very nice, very professional sensor that makes the photos look much more like a camera than a smartphone. And that idea goes throughout this whole phone. It just doesn't feel like it was a normal phone photo. When I compare to different phones, even flagships in 2025, the Xiaomi's tend to look a little bit more like a camera. And I would say that many people would be mistaken thinking that this could possibly be from a bigger normal camera, where the other phones tend to have this more smartphone look in their photos. This is thanks to this bigger sensor, which just creates more bokeh, so the background separation from the subject to the background, the blur is a little bit bigger, and just overall how the characteristics of this lens work. And this is also a benefit in low light. It's really easy to snap photos in low light, where other phones you might have to wait a little bit to get a little bit more light. This can usually just take a photo in a snap. So this is a huge benefit, and this is probably the reason why this is a little bit of a bigger camera bump. In terms of the ultra wide, it is once again a 50 megapixel camera sensor. It's a really nice ultra wide, especially for a smartphone. Usually the ultra wides are the worst out of all the camera lenses, but here it is really nice, and it keeps the characteristics of the other lenses. Essentially, it's once again a flagship level sensor, but with an ultra wide angle lens. And it definitely looks really good. We also have a 50 megapixel telephoto lens, which is also amazing because not only is it 3.2 zoom, it is also capable of ultra macro photography. And what this really means is that when you want to take a photo of something really close up, it looks like a professional macro photography because it's not using the wide angle lens as many other smartphones do. It uses the telephoto, meaning that it looks like it should be. It looks very professional. There's no this fisheye look, not just the subject being close, but now it's a different look, and it's definitely a more professional look. So if you're into macro photography, Xiaomi is definitely one of the best phones you can get for this style of shooting. And I just love shooting macro photography with the Xiaomis. And here is where the difference comes from the last year's model. The big camera here is the Xiaomi's new periscope lens, which is also a telephoto lens. It is a 4.3 zoom lens and is a 200 megapixel sensor, but it's also a bigger sensor compared to its last year's model. It means that it's better for low light, can gather more light, and with 200 megapixel you can zoom in more and still get a clear picture. Yes, it's a little bit of a smaller zoom against the 5x zoom that we had on the 14 Ultra, but it's definitely a huge improvement in terms of the size of the sensor. And they had to rearrange the cameras a little bit to make this work, but it definitely is felt that you can zoom much more before you have to use the AI features to clear the photos. It definitely feels like the 200 megapixel is better than the 50 megapixel that we had, even though it's a smaller zoom. So overall, the camera department is really covered. You have from beautiful ultra wide angle all the way to a nice ultra zoom. And with that being said, the camera is capable of HDR photos. Also, you can shoot in JPEG and RAW. With RAW, you can really take advantage of post-production. So if you know you want to use this phone like a proper camera and then want to edit them in post in your phone or on your computer, then this is a great feature. You can really take advantage of how good these sensors are and make those photos your own. If you're interested in my presets to color grade those photos really quickly, check out the description below where I have my presets for photos. And being that this is a very photo-centric smartphone, you can shoot in Pro mode, meaning you can take advantage of all the settings, set up everything the way you would like it to be. So you can change the shutter speed, ISO, and all the other features to make the photos the way you really want it to. But in the automatic mode, you have two different color styles. You have the Leica Authentic and the Leica Vibrant. I've noticed that the Leica Authentic tends to be a little bit less colorful, just a little bit more washed out, but it does feel like a little bit more like it's a special artistic style. It also adds a little bit more of vignette. The Leica Vibrant gives us a little bit more colorful picture. I wouldn't say that it's more accurate or the Authentic is more accurate. I would say it's just a different feel of the photo. It just feels like it's a different style of a photo. So it's really dependent on the user, how you want to have your photos to look. But both are going to be distinctive. Both are going to feel different, and both can be used interchangeably. I personally like to use the Leica Vibrant. It just feels a little bit more colorful and just a little bit more like a social media ready photo. But depending on the situation, sometimes I like to change it up. For example, in low light situations or indoors when maybe you're in a restaurant, I think the Authentic just looks better. It doesn't have that over-colored picture look, especially in the orange department with the lighting that you might have. While the Vibrant for me is better in a situation where I have a lot of green space, maybe blue sky. It just feels a little bit more vibrant, like the name suggests, and just makes the photos look better in my opinion. On the front, we have a 32 megapixel selfie camera. If you're enjoying the music in this video or in any other of my work, check out the link down below for Epidemic Sound. This is a great service for you if you want to start your YouTube career and maybe you need copyright-free music for your videos. Check it out, it's gonna be linked down below with a 30-day free trial. In terms of video, this phone is also incredible. It can shoot up to 8K at 30 frames per second or 4K up to 120 frames per second. It can also shoot in 4K 60 frames per second with HDR. And better yet, you can actually shoot in 4K 60 frames per second in log format in 10-bit, but this time on all of the lenses. Compared to last year's model, it was only available on the main camera sensor, up to 4K 60 frames per second, but now you can use it on all different lenses, meaning that you can really take advantage of the footage in post-production and really color grade the way you want it to. Which means that once again, you can really take advantage of the cameras that we have on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. Pair that with the Pro mode, you can really take advantage of setting everything the way you want it to, just push the boundaries of mobile videos. And I really like how you can change between the different lenses while recording, so you can go from ultra wide to a periscope lens. but also the transition is super smooth, so it just looks really nice without that janky transition between the lenses. When you focus, you can see the difference, but it is made so that it's as smooth as possible. And having that all the lenses are in a really good quality, it really is much easier, and you don't see the difference between the lenses, that one is much better than the other. Once again, if you're into selfies, this can actually shoot in 4K 60 frames per second on the selfie camera too. So if maybe you're doing a vlog, this is definitely a good option too. Overall, maybe it's not a revolution over the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, it is definitely a nice evolution of the Leica and Xiaomi's collaboration in the smartphone imaging. It's definitely one of the best, if not the best smartphone for photography in 2025. And you know what, the looks and the camera bump definitely show that. But I'm interested, what do you think about this Xiaomi 15 Ultra? Let me know in the comments section down below. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video once again, and I'll see you next time.